Israel always fought for homeland and homeland security.
Israel, in its weapon system, has to be at least one generation ahead of surrounding countries or potential enemies.
I said to myself that we have to do it somehow to protect Israeli lives.
We do not have a choice. We must win all our wars, and we cannot afford to lose even one.
When I was 18 years old, I joined the Israeli Defense Forces and spent the next 5 years of my life on a tank very much like this, commanding on it and inside the vehicle. For me, this wasn't a matter of choice, rather a matter of necessity. Everyone in our land has to enlist to serve our country. Very much the same way, the Israeli defense industries were born out of that necessity, out of a need to maintain and preserve this nation. The people in the defense industries in this land, day and night, think about the fact that their actions, their innovations, keep this country alive. Today, we bring you a TBN Israel special about the Israeli defense industries. I'm Mati Shoshani, and this is their story.
When we live in a rough neighborhood, we are outnumbered by our enemies.
I think we're living in a neighborhood that is enriched with a lot of uncertainty. So people that live in uncertainty are very creative.
That the only way we can survive here is by exploiting the qualitative edge, and that is mainly human factor and science and technology.
We had a big advantage being small. Beyond it, there was a big advantage of our compulsory service.
It's a small place where every 18 years old man go to the army. You're learning about what the battlefield actually requires and needs.
Once they're coming out at the age of 21, 22, they're still young, they're taking the risk, they're not afraid to lose face.
And try to achieve goals that on the face of it seems very risky.
And daring to go to startups, which actually gives a lot of benefit to the big industries.
Once you quit the army and you become an engineer, engineering capabilities joined with operational experience becomes a real asset in a rapid development.
It's a unique thing that engineers and technicians on Monday they are in the laboratory working on a system, and on Tuesday they are going to reserve service and they actually operate the prototypes of the same system.
The operational experience gained in the field immediately implemented into the product.
If you look at me, I'm a reserve lieutenant colonel in the special forces. So when I am talking to my colleagues in the force, we have a common language and we understand exactly what needs to be done.
So the contact between the industry and the user helps us to bring up the best products that answers the operational requirements.
Mostly because they are looking for systems that rely on the special edge that Israel can bring to this market.
A lot of space.
And the special edge comes from our experience.
The Bible, in both the book of Ezekiel and Zechariah, speaks of Israel raising up a great army and being victorious over its attackers. That part about winning is clear. The way in which this happens is something worth taking a deeper look at. Seeing God work through the different people, companies, and bringing forth ideas that saved countless lives, time after time.
The 6 Days War of 1967 was a crucial event if you want to understand the history of Israeli defense industry.
We had a major embargo from de Gaulle from France. This gave us in some way the understanding that we have to be much more depending on ourselves. And this gave a major push to the industries, starting with even developing our own systems and weapon systems.
Israel has to act and create and develop capabilities, very unique capabilities, out of necessity, The story of the OFEC spy satellite started with the 1979 Camp David peace accords.
Then in 1981, Prime Minister Begin decided to go and be active in acquiring, purchasing satellites.
Israel could no longer fly over Egypt. It could not violate the sovereignty of its newfound peace partner.
No one at that time wanted to sell us satellites, and therefore we decided to build it by ourselves. Now we have a unique problem here in Israel because we are surrounded by Arab countries.
So they have to launch westward over the sea, counter to the Earth's rotation.
That enforced to make those satellites very lightweight, developing new materials. Even the screws in the satellites are hollow. And at the end, we found ourselves with a family of satellites. From the point of view of performance, they are second to none, but perhaps to the American.
Huge success story, a symbol of Israeli fortitude when forced to come up with a solution.
In a reality in which violence breaks out in the region every few years,
That actually, in order to
Israel is a villa in the jungle that must keep a close eye on military technological advances.
During the 73 war or the Yom Kippur War, the Israeli Air Force had lost a lot of airplanes due to the missiles from the ground. We had to develop a concept to overcome it. We developed UAVs was part of this concept. In the 82 war in Lebanon, we never lost even one aircraft.
Israel was truly the pioneer of the unmanned aerial vehicle market.
We will enter now to the control station and I'll show you several features here. The major idea here, it is like a computer game. We have a fully automated system. We get the picture in a very safe way. Israel Aerospace Industry is the largest aerospace and defense company in Israel, and we have systems from the micro UAV systems up to 5,000 kilograms, which is a strategic UAVs.
In some specific aspects, Israel is even more advanced than the US, at least in one generation.
The reason why Israeli UAVs are better, because you always need to find the way to outrun your competition. So the idea about mini UAV is that it is very simple to operate.
Many of the Israeli defense companies start out relatively small and must rely on ingenuity and new developments to penetrate the tough global market.
What you see here, the Microbee, is one of the hottest product and the newest in the UAV market.
One of these people is Ronen Adil. He's the CEO of Bluebird, who's been building kit planes since the age of 13. When you think of Israeli innovation, this is what it looks like.
The first operational activity that Bluebird participated in was the Israeli-Lebanon conflict in 2006. The army needed additional eyes in the sky.
And in the recent Protective Edge operation in Gaza, UAVs played a major role in enabling the Israeli Air Force hitting the rocket launchers and other targets.
We did more than 2,000 operational hours of flight above the Gaza Strip.
Israel has been, it was first in the game. It's still a prominent player in this growing market.
The future shows that this area of unmanned aerial vehicle will grow dramatically. In the air forces in the world, there will be more UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, than manned air vehicles, and more operators of UAVs than pilots of regular aircraft.
For many years, the United States has provided Israel with valuable military aid. But being the ally of the most powerful nation in the world comes with a price.
Israel enjoys enormous benefits that come with being Washington's strategic partner in the Middle East. There also comes responsibilities and obligations.
So, I mean, we cannot really sell weapons to those countries which threaten in a way the security of the United States of America.
Powerful members on the UN Security Council interested in the capabilities that Israeli defense systems have to offer, but for consideration for U.S. security concerns, Israel does not sell to these countries. China is a huge example of this inherent limitation.
So actually, this is a way for the US government to control the Israeli industry. If they want to sell to a certain country, you cannot.
But despite this, Israel's share of the global market is widely disproportionate to the size of its industry.
10% of the overall global defense market in the world.
There are more than 1,000 weapons manufacturers registered in Israel. Almost all of them have export licenses. It's estimated that 80% of everything that's made by the industries in Israel is sent abroad and only 20% used by the IDF. We had the unique opportunity to meet with David Ivri, who's one of the few people in this country who's been both on the military side of things and the industry side of the operation.
Well, beginning-wise, I think to start to build up a fighter plan, which it's not on your own budget and you're depending on other budget, it's a real problem.
In 1987, Israel has developed a very, very advanced jet fighter. And after 4 prototypes were in the air flying, the Americans said, hold it. You buy F-16s from us, you stop the project. And they forced Israel to close the project.
Levi is still controversial to these days. That plane was something that cost a lot of money, and it ultimately would have caused so much bitter blood with the American aviation industry.
I would say the ending the Lviv project was in some way a crisis, but a crisis which gave us a lot of opportunities. All the laboratories, all the capabilities we've been developed, all the computer way of checking, testing and so on, has been on the industry. It was really a big momentum for the high tech here.
And in the process, U.S. elevated the level of strategic cooperation and ultimately allowed for joint funding and joint development.
Iron Dome, I would say it was an output of the Lviv constellation in some way.
Many different developments were born out of necessity, the latest of which is the Iron Dome system. Danny Gold is the man who's directly responsible for this incredible success story.
The Iron Dome system or project, the idea was initiated in 2004 and 2005. Back then, nobody in the world, including the superpowers, in Europe, US, even in Israel, nobody thinks it can be done.
It's different because when you defend your home, your country, the defense industries, they want the system to be operational in the minimum time.
So I tell to myself, we are in Israel, startup nations. Number one, we will find a way to do it.
They actually started Iron Dome without a firm, signed legal contract.
I launched a team that will do it. We architect the system, we approach the industry, we start to do it with no money, no authorization.
Iron Dome was developed in record time with a lot of cutting corners and less paperwork involved than any country that I'm aware of.
The team in Rafael that developed Iron Dome, some of the guys, including one woman, lived in the laboratory for months. They slept there, they didn't see their families.
You can see 20, 25 years old lady, bright, out of the university, working shoulder to shoulder with 70 years old veteran that we call back from pension because he's an expert in some specific missile field, working together in one team, shoulder to shoulder. It's like taking 15 startups, each one have to be successful 100% and in very high risk, and all 15 have to work together.
Iron Dome was deployed as an untested prototype under operational conditions, and less than a month later, it intercepted its first missile.
You work to protect your country, you protect your neighbors, protect your family. Iron Dome is something you can see, you protect your house.
protective edge validated not only the ingenuity of the Israeli defense industry and its ability to come up with a system that had never been developed before, and to prove it consistently against more than 4,000 rockets. I mean, this is something that is unprecedented.
3 years instead of 15, 20 years and 5% of the cost. And top performances, this is the main. Only can be done in Israel.
From the IHLS studios in Tel Aviv, this is Homeland Security Weekly Report.
Over the years, Israel has become a point of interest for those who follow advances in defense technology. We traveled to meet with Ari Egozi. He's a senior defense reporter, and we heard about why people around the world are so keen on hearing about Israeli developments.
After September 11, a new word was born, Homeland Security. That means the things that defend the homeland, the anti-terror tools.
The U.S. Army is developing a new 80-yard-long surveillance balloon.
So we decided 2 years ago to establish a website that will deal with Homeland Security in its widest context. The results are amazing. People all over the world are going into our website and read the latest development about the Israeli technique that are used to defend Israel against terrorists.
In the future, all the issue of homeland security and fighting terror is going to take a larger and larger part of the defense arena. We have to move into new areas such as cyber technology. The cyber arena is going to be very significant in the future.
At the Tel Aviv University, we met with Professor Yitzhak Ben Israel, a retired Israeli general, who's personally responsible for some of Israel's greatest inventions over the last few decades. The professor is currently running Israel's counter-cyber unit, which is facing a whole new generation of threats.
We live in the information age, in computer age. We become more and more dependent on computers, and therefore the bad guys may use it as a kind of weapon against your society.
Cyber is a huge threat, and the Israeli government and Prime Minister Netanyahu personally has accorded it top priority.
We have today 200,000 attacks per day that is on our computer system, including the networks. In emergency time, it raises to something like 2 million per day.
Think of the situation that someone from outside Israel can shut down 2 power stations in Israel in one night. That will paralyze the country.
And therefore, in this area, like in many other areas, we had to face this problem long before the world became aware.
We have good experts that are sitting every day trying to predict what will be the next step of the cyber warriors around the world.
There's a plan to move Israel's intelligence branches down to the Negev. This is what Prime Minister Netanyahu envisions as the cyber capital of the world, a global hub for cooperation in defending against cyber attacks.
If you are looking to the future, actually, budget is going to be constrained, capabilities are going to be constrained for a small country, and the only idea which we can continue is to try to cooperate with some other countries on budget and development.
The story of the Israeli defense industries has been one of incredible success despite the odds. But we've learned that things are changing. Budgets are being cut, the threats have changed dramatically. But we've learned, and I'm sure, that these companies, these people, are going to be able to evolve and change and, again, have this burst of ingenuity out of necessity that they had in the past.
Israel constantly enjoys the safety net of the US of A. And I hope, as a proud American who lives here full-time in Israel and a lover of Israel, I hope that this will continue, but we can't take that for granted.
So our first duty as a nation, as an industry, as an army, and we feel all together, by the way, is to protect our people, our children, our future.